Then we think our mind is there, the heart is there, the prana is there, the body is there. Now, are they independent entities? Are they coordinated? How are they held together? We never think of it. We don't know that behind all there is a soul, there is a antaratman, there is a psychic being which holds all these together and draws experience of life through all these. So this ignorance of the true principles of our being is called constitutional ignorance. And as a result of all these types of ignorance, there is what is called practical ignorance. Everything we do goes wrong because we really do not know the relations between our own parts. We do not know the right relations with other people, other movements. We give the wrong response. We understand wrongly. We think wrongly. And all that is called practical ignorance. We cannot handle life correctly. Everywhere, wherever we touch, we do wrong. That is called practical ignorance. So, there are these 7 types of ignorance to which each one of us is subject. And to have an integral knowledge, complete knowledge, we have to acquire knowledge of the absolute Brahman, who is the source of all. Because of that all this has come. Knowledge of the self, which is supporting all universe. Knowledge of the universal existence, which is not separate from my existence. And that there is, I am part of a time, unrolling of time. There is an immortal element in me which survives death. My existence is not confined to the limited calendar years. So this awareness of an immortal entity within me, persistent in time, that is a must. Next is that we are not exhausted by the surface existence around, but that there is a larger existence within. That is to be acquired, and the true relation of mind, life and body to the Atman, to the self, to the psychic insight. Now, these are the types of knowledge which have to be acquired to replace the types of ignorance of which we have spoken. As a result of these separate types of knowledge, we will get the secret of true harmony and true use of our faculties, and gradually, as the knowledge grows, will change our nature. And this knowledge is not what we call knowledge of the mind. Mental knowledge is a labored knowledge. It is a borrowed knowledge. But this integral knowledge is something in which we grow. Our consciousness grows. In that, the mental knowledge is only a stage. And this integral knowledge can come only by growth in larger and deeper consciousness. And to become conscious is the key to acquire knowledge. This comes naturally by growth of evolution, but it takes a very long time, thousands of years you may say. But Sri Aurobindo points out that at the human stage there has been a big change, that our will and our endeavor can play a part. We don't leave things to nature. And This evolutionary process, which involves a change of our nature, change of our consciousness, how is it brought about? We have a say in the matter, we have a will, we have an effort to make. And how do we proceed? What is the change of nature? And what moments of integral knowledge will grow in what way? Now these are further questions which we'll have to consider in the subsequent discussions. So what we have now learned is mental knowledge gives us only a superficial idea of things. But mental knowledge is a necessary stage. But there is a large integral knowledge to be acquired, and he has split up the various phases of ignorance which have to be tackled. And there is a truth in materialism, there is a truth in spirituality, but when they are treated as exclusive truths, they cease to be whole knowledge, they become partial truths. So neither exclusive spirituality nor exclusive materialism are true. Exclusive idealism, that is, mind only is true and nothing else is true, also is not true. And everything has its own truth, and that truth is independent of your mind and my mind. Keeping all these things in view, we have now to see how do we grow in that total knowledge. What will be the changes that will be affected in our being? As we grow in this knowledge, it is not going to be a matter of one day or perhaps even one life, but it can, depends upon the preparation we have done in our previous lives. But we must have a certain mental clarity, what is what. And that is the purpose of the study of these chapters, however difficult and abstruse they may sound. They give us an idea where things touch us, where we are weak. All are subject to all the 7 types of ignorance. Some types of ignorance are very far from us, though they envelop us. But in practical life, we should know that every wrong that we do, every disharmony which surrounds us, is a result of ignorance. My ignorance and your ignorance. So that broadens the mind, makes us charitable, that nobody is really doing things wickedly. It may appear that a person is misbehaving wickedly, but even that wickedness is a part of ignorance. Ignorance, he does not know that he himself stands to gain by behaving correctly. This arrogance, this wickedness is only an extreme result of ignorance. Ignorance of our true being, ignorance of our true capacities, ignorance of our sharing one life with all people, ignorance of the fact that there is something immortal in us, and this one little life is not everything. So these are the 7 types of ignorance and 7 types of knowledge. We will be coming again to study this aspect of the philosophy in later chapters, but I would suggest that each one of you writes out these 7 types of ignorance, what they are and what is the antidote. This is not a thing just to be heard and forgotten. It has practical value to each one of us. It gives us a perspective, it gives us a right vision, it gives us a poise, so that we do not hurry, we do not rush. If we know things, that this little life is not the whole, that this surface existence of mine is not everything, but there are deeper things in us, that enlarges our vision, scope of experience, points of contact with others, and it can bring about a change in the quality of our life. And that is the speciality of this philosophy, a spiritually pragmatic philosophy, where every life situation is taken and related to the reality of which you and I are integral parts. While completing the last chapter, we discussed the 7 types of ignorance and the 7-fold corrective knowledge that is to form in us, and we noted that this knowledge cannot be formed by the intellect, the logical mind, but has to grow in our consciousness as part of our evolution. Now, what's the kind of knowledge? The integral knowledge that is to form in us. It is very important to know the truth of knowledge, because ultimately it is this truth of knowledge that has to base the truth of life. If there is a one-sidedness or a kind of blemish in the truth that we cherish, our life is correspondingly vitiated. And the truth of integral knowledge is what Sri Aurobindo affirms as the cornerstone of his philosophy and his approach to life. The first point to note is that the absolute, which is beyond definition, which is beyond description, which is self-existent, that is not only transcendent, but also it is the origin, the support, and the secret reality of things in our world. And this being above the reach of mind, it does not submit itself to mental analysis. But it is possible to seize this reality in its fundamental aspects and its manifested powers and figures. So the fundamental aspects and the powers and figures in which it is manifest in this world, it is possible to seize in our consciousness. The phenomenal objects, realities, they derive their truth from this absolute reality. It may be temporary, it may be subject to change, whatever happens here. But whatever element of truth is there in our transient things, that is derived from this reality. And what is the universe? The universal is real by virtue of the absolute, of which it is a self-manifestation. The point to note is that there is no gulf, impassable gulf, between the universe and the absolute, for the simple reason that the absolute forms the secret reality of the universal, and the universal is a manifestation of the absolute. The second point to be noted is that this absolute manifests as being something that exists and becoming. The being is the fundamental reality. The becoming is what is called effectual reality. It is a reality, but it is an effect, an effectual reality. Naturally, what becomes, the becoming, is not sufficient by itself. A becoming always refers back to the being, of which it is a movement. And whatever may be the position at the moment, ultimately the becoming must know itself as the being. It is not separate, it is not something cut off, but is itself the being. This truth, that the becoming is an effect of the being, and it has to know itself as the being, becomes in the soul a necessity of manifestation. Manifestation of the being. And that truth becomes in matter a secret energy. An energy that flows, an energy that builds, an energy that creates. And the same truth becomes in life an urge, tendency, desire, seeking, always an urge that is in life. And in mind, it translates itself as will, endeavor, purpose. Will, effort, purpose. So, the truth of manifestation translates itself at different levels, in different forms. And the one common feature is to manifest what is occult within, is the hidden trend of evolving nature. Nature goes on evolving. It does not create something original. It is developing, it is bringing out what is latent, what is occult, what is hidden in itself. And that is the meaning of evolution. In this context, what is called illusionism, that this world has no reality, this world is an illusion, is not a complete philosophy of existence. Only in a certain setting it is real as long as it lasts. Sri Aurobindo points out that when the mind frees itself from its involvement in the universal movement and turns towards the absolute. It does go through the experience of feeling that all this is irrelevant. Only that is true. Only that is dominant. This is temporary. It has, in fact, never existed. I have imagined it to be existing, only that exists. This pragmatic experience is true as long as you look at things from a certain angle. So it is a partial truth, but not a complete philosophy of existence. We have seen that it is possible for the soul in becoming at some point of time to know itself as the being. For my soul, once it is awake and takes steps to realize what is its origin, what is it meant to be, it can arrive at a state when it knows itself as the original being. And in the process of knowing itself as the being, it experiences the triple reality of existence, consciousness, delight. Sat, Chit, Ananda. It is the secret truth underlying the whole manifestation. It is not simply somewhere there on the peaks of existence. It is here, underlying all that exists, all that is seen, and even what is not seen. And there is continuously, in every object, in every being, a hidden compulsion to disclose that reality. It insists on coming to the front. Next is that one, that absolute is the all. There is no unbridgeable gulf between oneness and multiplicity. The oneness itself becomes this multiplicity. And when we look at the being, the original being, it takes three poises in manifestation. First is the supracosmic, the transcendent existence. The second is the poise of the cosmic spirit. The third is the individual self. Now, it is the same being which takes three poises. First as the transcendent, supracosmic existence. The second as the cosmic spirit. The third as the individual self. And this individual self, at the level of the individual self, there is division. Each individual self feels itself to be separate from other individual selves, feels itself separate from the universal self, from the transcendental self. But it is not left all the time to stay put in this divisive state. there is an underlying unity which goes on exerting a compulsion on each being to recover the knowledge of one being. That is what Mother means, that the unity is not something that we have to build. Unity is there. It is because the unity is there that it goes on compelling us to take steps to realize this unity overtly in life. And this triple aspect of the transcendent, the universal, and the individual must be included in the total truth of the soul and cosmic manifestation. They are not three separate things. It is clear that the transcendence cannot be excluded, because if by any means the transcendence were to be excluded, all this could not exist. There is a philosophy called pantheism. Pantheism means all this world is God. All that exists is God. Impliedly, what is that mad woman? Why is he keeping quiet? In pantheism, you exclude that part of divinity which exceeds this world. All this exists is God. But what is beyond this existence, that you don't take into account. So, the pantheistic view is also a partial view, because it omits the supracosmic reality. If we can't ignore the transcendent reality, we can't ignore the individual also, saying that the individual is a person or a being that comes today and passes tomorrow. Individual also is an eternal truth. Maybe what is called a natural individual, that part of us which is formed entirely by nature, is not eternal. But each individual is a product of the universal self. Each individual is a derivation of the transcendent self. That gives an eternal reality to the individual. The soul is an eternal portion of the Supreme, not a fraction of nature. It is only the most external part that is a fraction of nature. It is also true that the universe exists independently of the individual. Individuals form part of the universe. But even if the individual is not there, the universe continues to exist. They are interrelated, but one does not exclude each other. The universe does not exist only in the individual. And we must not forget that both the individual and the universal depend upon the transcendental divine being. Both of them derived on the transcendental. And another feature to be noted is that the reality is both personal and impersonal. It is a Purusha, what we call God. Also, it is an existence, a consciousness, a bliss, a peace, whatever it is, a state. But both are true. No, neither of them is superior to the other, but both are complementary aspects of the reality. So, if there is existence, Sat, there is also the conscious being. Conscious being is the self, the highest self. And it is that conscious being, the highest self, which forms the universal indwelling presence. The presence that dwells everywhere is due to this highest self, which is the conscious being or the divine Purusha. And to know this highest self, to grow into this highest self, and to manifest that highest self in our life is the meaning of life. The object of life is to know, to grow, and to manifest the highest self is the meaning of our life. Now, this manifestation of which we are a part, the universe is a part, starts with involution. All the powers, all the principles of the divine absolute are there involved in what we call inconscience, achetana. And what are involved are the 7 principles of manifested being. 7 principles extended as 7 gradations of manifesting consciousness. A principle is one thing, and the gradation or the plane of consciousness is a result based on that principle. And these 7 principles which are involved are 3 original principles of Sat, Chit, Ananda. When we come from there, the 4th is what is called the supramental truth consciousness. It is a power of Satchidananda, a power of self-determination of the infinite. Now, the Satchidananda is infinite. If it is to manifest, it can manifest only in an infinite way. If it has to manifest in a finite way, this being, that being, this world, that world, it has to limit itself. It has to self-determine itself. So this power of Satchidananda to self-determination, self-limitation is called the supramental truth consciousness. Then follows the 3 lower powers, mind, life, and physical, which in fact are powers of these higher superior principles. When separated from the spiritual sources, they lapse into divided existence and limited knowledge. Mind is derived from the overmind. It is a luminous shadow of the supermind. Life is derived from consciousness force. The physical is derived from Sat. But they are not that free, they are not that omnipotent here, because they have got separated from their original spiritual sources, and they lapse into a divided existence. The result is there is a limited knowledge of its own world order. The material world knows only itself. The life world knows only itself. The mind world knows only itself. It does not have a living contact with the whole totality of world existence. And this lapse culminates into inconscience, out of which the involved being and consciousness have to slowly emerge in an evolutionary process. Gradually it has to develop, it has to emerge, mind, matter, life, mind, and then it has to be followed by the supramental and ultimately by Sat Chit Ananda. The mental, the vital and the physical are realized powers for us. The other four are still to be realized, and we are in the middle stage of this evolution. So it is clear that there is no exclusive truth of matter, life and mind by themselves. All of them have to be suffused with the higher light, with the higher power of the Spirit. I think we could stop at this point and continue in our next session.